Hello, welcome back to episode 6 of the Hello Player One podcast. We're your hosts, Jack and Clayton. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into CryptoVoxels Metaverse. Clayton here has been a user since one of the earlier days, and we're going to look 2020.
Yeah.
It's pretty new, right?
Yeah, late 2020, almost 2021.
Yeah. And we're going to look at past, present, and the future. So, Clayton, why don't you kick it off and just tell us a little bit about like what CryptoVoxels is, as a user of it.
Yeah, so CryptoVoxels was originally created in 2018. It's one of the first metaverses, like crypto native metaverses out there. It was, the way it's laid out is it's a persistent metaverse. So it's one where if you walk, like all the parcels are on one persistent layer. Where think of like Sandbox is like you have an instance base, so each parcel has its own instance. This is the opposite, where all the parcels share the same instance. So it's closer to Decentraland in that sense. And the way it was broken up is, I know the goals of what they wanted to do back then was to create the top lo-fi metaverse. And when you go to CryptoVoxels, it definitely feels lo-fi. And I think, to me, I like that kind of that aesthetic because I think it ages well versus things that aren't necessarily like where they're trying to be too graphically intense. Like if you look at a mid-2000s 3D game, they aren't necessarily they don't look that good now. They always have to be redone and in those sense. But I think voxel art and voxelized worlds can age a little better. And I think that was the right move by CryptoVoxels. You can say you're going to be lo-fi, and you don't have to compete with the crazy budgets that other metaverses would have in that sense. But they're broken up into islands. And the first island was Origin City. And that's where you'll see a lot of, what I'll talk about in the past, of a lot of big names now have parcels. But yeah, that's really it. And other things you can do in CryptoVoxels right now. It's actually, they rebranded to Voxels now. They're actually not CryptoVoxels. They rebranded to Voxels. But some of the things you can do is you can have a gallery where you can put your NFTs up. You can have streams. You can like have a concert where you have live stream Twitch, something like that. Other things you can do are you can have a store. So I believe what they have now is you can actually buy stuff in CryptoVoxels, if someone made a wearable, let's say a hat, I believe you can buy that hat directly in CryptoVoxels. I could be wrong on that, but I think that they're working towards it if it's not available yet. Yeah, there's things like that. And I've seen fashion shows, meetups, all that stuff. The one thing that they do really well is that they are very weird. They really do a good job of being authentic and weird. And I think that is one of the things missing from a lot of the current metaverses I've seen, especially if you go to the other end of the spectrum where you have Facebook, where it's just completely, it's like, it's not that for sure. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like overly produced, I would say, for Facebook, where it's just kind of they're not good creepy. And then you have the other ones where Decentraland, where I don't think there's not as many cool UGC things in Decentraland. You kind of have to have a higher skill in the way that you build assets and experiences in Decentraland. And then Sandbox, they definitely do the low entry barrier for creating games and things like it, but I don't think they've captured. They're still very much curating things themselves to like how they want to present themselves to the world. So they never tapped into like the weirdness of a lot of creative people. And I think when you walk around CryptoVoxels, you see that weirdness, and you see like the user, the builders that have a different vision, and they can express that more freely in voxels.
Do you still see the artists using CryptoVoxels, or are they moving on to other platforms?
So it's a mix. I know. So I'll talk about the past a little bit. So kind of talk about the artists who were in it. So this is back before. So this is 2018. So this is back before any of the metaverse stuff took off. A lot of the first artist meetups were in CryptoVoxels. So you'd have hosts like NFT Land, who's Rizzle on Twitter, Matthew Niftyland. They would host events and the work in progress meetup. So they would do a weekly show, those kind of things. And there'd also be like artist meetups in CryptoVoxels. So you could like a lot of money. He has a lot of builds in CryptoVoxels. I believe he's built land for Whale Shark. I know he did some for, these are collectors. Basilius is a big collector. He has Voxel Hotel where there's a lot of events that he hosts in there. And then a lot of money also has built a bunch of wearables and assets. You can see periodically, you'll see every now and then you'll see like his motorcycles in CryptoVoxels that he made, or these flying cars. Those are a lot of money's cars that he made. Josie, another big name, she's the head person of Cyber Brokers. She has some wearables. She has some land. Frenetic Void, who is a big artist, he has a Frenetic Void temple. Has all of his art posted up. Coldy, Christy Glass, Hackatow, all these are big names from then, and they have builds in this space. So, yeah, and to your question that you asked is like, do I still see them in the building in that? I do not see them build the work in progress meetup. That still happens in CryptoVoxels, but they've broken it up into several metaverses. I believe they do. They have sometimes in Decentraland, sometimes in Monoverse. So that is part of the problem with CryptoVoxels is they are losing in some of the market share or some of the user base because their product development isn't keeping up with these other places. So yeah.
Yeah, I always thought that CryptoVoxels had found product market fit early on, but they're with the artists. But yeah, like I think what if artists decide that they want to create something in the sandbox, or there's more, artists I think want to create galleries where there's users, right? Ultimately, that's what they want to do. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think that's ultimately correct, is people want to go to places where there's other people. And one of the problems with the current, so one of the benefits that CryptoVoxels had is they were first movers, so they have all this great history. But one of the downsides of being first mover is people coming in now, like on Cyber, they can learn from the mistakes of CryptoVoxels. So they are basically getting a head start on starting the build correctly. And there's also, so there's that part of it, but there's also like, how do the people view like integrations with CryptoVoxels? So if you're a project, and I mentioned this in the Decentraland talks, where Ice Poker, they're going to be very pluggable into other metaverses because their stuff is how you play the poker. You have wearables and you get to access to these things. So their assets are on chain, so they can basically plug and play, assuming that the infrastructure supports the games that they want to allow their wearables to have. I don't see CryptoVoxels tapping into that. I don't know if they have the numbers of engineers to start tapping into those. So I think they'll lose more market share as more metaverses come in, because there's going to be much higher budgets in other metaverses than what I think CryptoVoxels has. An example would be like on Cyber. I can 100% see on Cyber onboarding Ice Poker before CryptoVoxels. So again, they'll get those users. And that's just one example. Sandbox, if they want to partner with another metaverse, they'd probably partner with On Cyber first, because I imagine that On Cyber could facilitate that better. Just because how On Cyber, I think the persistent worlds are probably too difficult, too ambitious in the current technical landscape. Meaning, because you see, when you do Decentraland, it's buggy, it's glitchy. Even if you have a really powerful computer, it's still not a great user experience. You kind of have that with CryptoVoxels too, where the ones that are being more successful now are the instance based, where on Cyber they have like their instance based basically. They have the biggest one I know of is the 6529 gallery, where he has all of his artwork posted up. That is still more or less a bigger instance, but it's still instance based. And if you want to go to a different part of it, you'd have to walk through a door and it would load that other parcel. Where CryptoVoxels, they're having to fight having this entire thing shared across all the land. And that is very difficult to have with the current technical scope. So yeah, current projects have learned from that mistake. And I think that is a big reason why other companies have a chance to surpass CryptoVoxels, even though they had such a good head start.
Okay. So that was the past. Like, what is it? Like, what is it you being used for now?
Right now, so they have some cool events. They still do events. Like I said, the Work in Progress meetup, that's still ongoing, and that's periodically there. I've been to a fashion show in there. I've been to a Steve Aoki concert in CryptoVoxels. All these things
Can you
are more.
Describe what that was like, the Steve Aoki concert?
Yeah, so that one was just
it's kind of weird. Like I feel like you want to be in person, but I don't know. Can you explain the whole concert thing?
Yeah, I think it's a weird experience. It was cool. I mean, it's one of those things like I don't think it replaces like actual going to a concert. So you can't really compare it to that. I mean, even though people try to, it's not the same thing. But these things do scale much larger than a concert, so you can make the price much lower to get in. This was a free concert; it didn't cost any money to get there. But you can technically have more users in several, like let alone let's say Sandbox. Like, what is it? 50 people are capped per instance. Is that correct? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, it's a lot bigger than that now.
A lot bigger now. Okay, so
I've seen like over 100 in one instance.
So you can spin up, let's say 100 people per instance, and you can have 100 instances. So times 100 times 100, and then you can scale up the instances horizontally. So obviously that gets much more. So even if you charge like $1 for the concert, you can still make a lot more money because you don't have to have like the infrastructure to hire the people to build the stage, all this stuff, the concession stuff. Like you can basically charge less, but get more people to join. So from a money perspective, it makes sense. But again, to your point, exactly, it's not the same experience yet. And I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know, when you will think that you would rather go to a metaverse concert. And I don't know if that's going to be our generation. I think that's going to be the younger generation that's going to more appreciate the digital concerts over the physical. So I think there's a gap, age gap potentially as well.
Okay, so concerts, fashion show. Okay,
Yeah.
So back to the concert. I'm guessing it's Steve Aoki streaming on a big screen video, right? Is that what it was like? Okay.
Yeah, it was him streaming, and it was like a bunch of people just like, if you've seen the CryptoVoxels avatars, they're like these white, like they're weird
Like
looking
mannequins.
They're mannequins. Yeah, they're basically mannequins, and you can make them different colors, all that stuff. But and you can wear wearables, so it's like a bunch of weird. Which again taps into weirdness. Is these wearables are actually really cool. Some of my favorite NFTs that I have are CryptoVoxels wearables, and I think honestly, they'll probably be some of the more valuable ones that I have too. But a lot of it
Why do you say it would be valuable?
I think so. This kind of ties into the future of CryptoVoxels. I think that they are historically significant, one of the big historically significant metaverses. And assuming that the metaverse truly takes off in terms of a lot of people are spending the majority of their day in a digital environment, which we do now, but I'm talking more in a 3D environment. I think CryptoVoxels is going to be one of the front runners on the most historically significant in the Web3 sense. So, and then the wearables I have would be like I have a few X copies, a lot of monies. I want to buy a Josie. There's a gas mask that she minted. She has some spray cans too. Like I just think those are really cool history. And Coldy has some 3D glasses. And I think that's a really cool history piece down the line. And during the Stevie Aoki concert, you see everyone like showing off the things that they've made personally, or wearables that other artists or just builders in general that have built are made. And it's really cool to see because they'll have just the weirdest. They'll have a huge head on one, and then someone made a lawnmower, and they'll have a lawnmower that they're pushing around. it's just weird. Really? Yeah, but it's like a cool thing.
How does that work? Is that like the wearable system is a little different in CryptoVoxels than in like the Sandbox, right? Because in the Sandbox, the wearable concept is based on like the item, and then there's certain item slots that you have. How does that work? How does the wearable system work in CryptoVoxels?
Yeah, so wearables in CryptoVoxels, you basically have the mannequin, and you can select the wearable you want to put, and you can put it anywhere on the body. So if you have sunglasses, you can make it a belt if you wanted to. It's just like you drag it, yeah. And it's the same with, because I actually had one of the X copies I have is I have one of his visors that I wear on my head, but I also have a helmet of his, which is a big eyeball, and I wear that on my chest. It's supposed to be a hat, but I wear it on my chest. So you see people wearing who create like a lawnmower, and they just put it in, like they put it on their right hand, and when they're walking, it looks like they're mowing. So it's just stupid shit like that. And it's
got it. So
yeah,
product market fit is for artists, weird artists, right? Like just very weird stuff, which is there's
exploratory stuff. I don't want to make it sound like a negative connotation because it's a cool weird. It's authentic is probably the more accurate word than just weird. And that's one of the benefits of CryptoVoxels. So, and then one of the other experience I had was when a lot of money passed away. There was a Basilius who is a collector. He had Voxel Hotel, which a lot of money made. There was a big memorial at that, and that was cool. It was the first, I would say, metaverse experience where there was actually a meaningful
metaverse funeral, really, or celebration. It
was a celebration because of how impactful and how big and how influential he was. A lot of money was, and the connections he made because a lot of people care about him. And so it was cool to see people show up for that. And it was the first meaningful metaverse experience I would say I've had in terms of seeing, it didn't feel superficial at all. Where a lot of them, if you're in the Sandbox or something, it can feel superficial. Or if you're into Decentraland, it can feel superficial. That was not at all. So,
what was the celebration like? How many people were there? What did you do?
It was packed. I mean, the goal of when you have these big events, the goal is to crash CryptoVoxels. It's like, because it's like slow down their servers, that's always, because there was a couple that there's been at the hotel, and sometimes it brings it down. But yeah, there's a big Twitch screen streaming, so there's a DJ that played. It's just like a big dance party type thing, and it was just people showing respect and those kind of things. So. But yeah, it was cool. And only CryptoVoxels, I think, could pull it off in that way. It wouldn't feel the same in Decentraland. It wouldn't feel the same in Sandbox. And I think that plays to the authenticity of CryptoVoxels.
Mm-hmm.
What else? So currently, one of the downsides with CryptoVoxels, though, and we talked about a little bit on the it's a persistent world. It often feels very buggy. Like I have my own land in CryptoVoxels where it's like an art gallery. Oftentimes, the NFTs that I have on display don't load, or like I actually went yesterday for the first time in a while, and there is a random voxel fountain that is not mine that was in my land, and it was just randomly there.
How does that work?
I have no idea how it got there, and then I was like, "How is this even possible?" And then I refreshed the page and it was gone. But how it even loaded there in the first place, no idea. So like there's just random bugs, and so I wouldn't say joined, but I started exploring the metaverse stuff in late 2020, early 2021. It more or less feels the same there. So again, it kind of comes back to the product development component, where you have all these other places that are building quicker, faster, and the users are kind of jumping ship to some degree. These other spaces because, CryptoVoxels tap directly into the artist market, but OnCyber is also really good for artists too, and they're adding multiplayer and those things, and that's taking away from CryptoVoxels, and it's a more polished product. So that's one of the things with CryptoVoxels again is like you have these parcels that can be very buggy, and things won't load, or you start walking around and you'll appear somewhere else and those things. So, yeah.
So I saw the number of land that CryptoVoxels Voxels wants to have. I'm just reading this from their kind of like roadmap, and yeah, they say they want to have a maximum 70,000 land parcels, but right now there's only about 7,355.
Yeah,
it's not very much.
No. And I don't know how they're going to make money in the future either. I don't know their plan in terms of. So I know that cap is relatively new. They were just going to mint forever, as far as I know.
Right.
And that was going to be their main source of money or funds. Is they're going to just sell these land, and then that's how they would basically fund their project. I'm not sure on how they're actually going to make money long term once the land is technically sold out, because I don't think it's smart for projects to live off of secondary fees, because I would imagine that it'd be tough to continually get revenue from secondary fees because you rely on people flipping.
No one's going to be flipping land in the future, right, if it does very well, right? Just like in actual real estate, there's a lot of buy and hold. Yeah.
So I'm sure they have a plan, but I don't know what that plan is. But yeah, 70,000 is the cap. Which I don't even know how they're going to expand that, to be honest. And they also do have free parcels. So similar to OnCyber, you can go to OnCyber and you can basically don't have to pay any money to show off your NFTs. CryptoVoxels does have that. I can't remember. I think they might be called parcels, actually. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, as a user, right, where would you like CryptoVoxels to focus on?
So there's the realistic part of it. So they've had so it's like, how much confidence do I have in them to continue product development? What do they do best? And those things. And how can they expand? I'm not confident that they will be able to keep up product development with the big budgets of the other metaverses. I think they need to continue to lean into how historically significant they are. I wouldn't use that as a crutch to not try to continue to build out the product, but I think they need to think of themselves more as, 10 years from now, I think that these kind of parcels will go for money for just collectors' point of view, not necessarily like I expect a return on my virtual store in CryptoVoxels. I think it'll be more of like museum type approach. So it'd be cool if they started to like take snapshots of what the current builds are. It'd be kind of like if you could take a snapshot of New York in 1920 and walk through it. So it'd be cool if they periodically took snapshots of the current layouts of those things. They might be doing that. I have no idea if they are. And I think from an actual product perspective, they need one thing that I've seen them seems like they do is the big question is how do you add value to the land parcel? And they do a lot of things like that seems to be the elephant in the room with them. And they do a lot of things like, think of it like this. If you have a difficult problem, or if let's say you want to, like, you have homework and you're getting ready to start your homework, and then all of a sudden your desk looks dirty. So you clean your desk. Then you're like, oh, I need to take my trash out. They do a lot of stuff like that where they avoid the core thing of like, how do I add value to the land? And they do a lot of little things, little cosmetic things, which I'm sure is difficult. But the core thing is it's not adding too much value to the existing land property. And I think they probably should work on marketing, but also partnerships. How would you get other projects to want to collaborate with CryptoVoxels? How would you get someone like Ice Poker to join CryptoVoxels? I'm not saying that they would, but how would someone even want to partner with them to build out to more of a collaborative way? You could argue maybe a DAO would be more appropriate for them, similar to a Decentraland type approach. But it's easier said than done to do that stuff. But yeah, I think lean into the historical significance. Think about how you can work on integrations with other platforms to bring traffic in. And yeah, those are the big two, I would say.
So I'm reading this article is from DappRadar, and it's talking about when CryptoVoxels rebranded to Voxels and what they have on the roadmap. And some of these things are, I don't know, it's kind of weird. For example, land plots on the seaside get a small premium. Like, really? Like, does that matter in the metaverse? Like, what is the benefit of being next to a metaverse ocean, right? Like, unless the ocean itself has utility. So
that's what I'm saying.
Maybe someone will create with that later on, but like ocean tile does not have utility in the metaverse. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's unclear on how they're going to add that value because it's like you have a really difficult problem and you start doing other things besides the problem. Like your homework, you're doing something completely different than your homework because you don't want to actually address the elephant in the room type thing. I think that's the biggest thing. And they're kind of in a tough position because they're in a persistent world where the technical challenges are more difficult than what OnCyber's having to do, where it's more modular, where you can have one instance, but if you want to go another one, it loads up. Similar if you're playing a video game and you go to a different level, it loads. Like you don't have the whole game on one single instance. There's loading periods and things like that where CryptoVoxels has to solve the problem of how do you get this to work across, the limited hardware constraints you have.
Yeah, like I just thought about how Justin TV, how that became big. this was many years ago. This was almost 10 years ago when I first started using, Twitch. Because what I just said, it was like the predecessor. It was like Justin TV. Right? It was like the founder, Justin, is like basically his own reality TV show, like of him, right? He called it Justin TV. I was using Justin TV compared to other very big name products out there, Ustream and Livestream. They were the biggest ones. But for some reason, Justin TV, their tech was better. And I ended up using Justin TV to create this, to put on this like global live summit, a conference, like using Justin TV and at the time GoToMeeting. And we just like were able to hack everything together using Justin TV. And then Justin TV then realized a lot of gamers were streaming their gameplay using Justin TV. And then they ended up like creating a product just for the gamers. That comes to mind because right now I see a lot of metaverse events, a lot, right? Almost weekly, I see some type of event being announced in a Discord for an NFT project. They're doing a meetup. Where else? In Decentraland. You know, that seems to be a big thing right now. And yeah, like, I don't think the tech is, there's no best solution for where to host your metaverse meetup yet. I think someone should create that. And I think, yeah, like if CryptoVoxels was one of like the first ones and a lot of people were doing meetups there, you know, they could do that because, you know, metaverse meetups are supposed to be weird, right? Because like who does that anyway, right? Like it's a regular meetup. So yeah, I mean, I would love to see, you know, these metaverses be niche, like initially to kind of get the ball rolling. I think Decentraland went a little niche in a good way, right? They're doing poker to get users. I think, yeah, I would love to see CryptoVoxels be niche in some way of possibly doing metaverse meetups. Sandbox is very clear where their focus is. It's a game platform. Very clear.
Yeah, it's not clear. It's not very clear with CryptoVoxels on what their path is. It's, you know, like they started with the early artists, still kind of is that same kind of metaverse. And again, there's no clear path on, like we just talked about the premium on near the ocean stuff. Like, I don't care about that. I want to have more value on my direct land. I want more. Like, I think too, it comes down to maybe budgeting too, because think of the partnerships that the Decentraland has. They had Sotheby's come in, these other places. Sandbox has like Walking Dead, these places. You never hear anything with CryptoVoxels on partnerships. And I don't know if they care about that, to be honest. You know, because again, once you start introducing those kind of big partnerships, you kind of lose the weirdness. You become more mainstream, so you kind of have to.
Sure.
So that there is a cost to that, but it does bring on users. So they'll have to walk a fine line. I think a balance between the two. It's like, how do you grow but keep the authenticity? And I'm not sure how that's going to play out too, other than, like I said, just lean into the historical significance, and hope for some organic. Just hope for some more organic user base to come in. But I don't think, like, they benefit from the metaverse talk. But I think the biggest players that benefited from when Facebook said they're going to go full in on Meta and they changed their name to Meta. I think Sandbox is one of them, and Decentraland were the big ones that really benefited. And CryptoVoxels had benefited, but it wasn't nearly at the scale.
Yeah, definitely Sandbox benefited, I think, the most out of the top three. And I think Roblox benefited as well.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking of that. You're right that a lot of these, the Web 2 world metaverses, they definitely benefited. But yeah, that's pretty much the overview I have on CryptoVoxels. Some cool builds to check out would be Frenetic Void Temple. Chris C. Glass has a cool one. It's Daunted. He's a collector. He has a good museum. But
let's take a look.
Chris C. Glass. Yeah.
So I have a lot of money's website pulled up here. So I won't click on these images because it's going to go into CryptoVoxels, but I'll just show this later. But yeah, like some of these look really cool.
Yeah, if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see some of the assets he's made, like the motorcycles and the cars and stuff like that. So you'll see those.
How does this even work?
Projects.
These are wearables, right?
No, those are actually like assets. I don't know. I'm not sure in terms. It's not a wearable. Because the wearables are 1155 tokens. Those are ERC 721s. So they're not in the wearable category. I've got.
These are very cool. Like, so does that mean the avatar is actually sitting in one of these things, and that's how they're moving throughout the place?
No, because they're different. They're not a wearable. You can't. I don't think you can wear it. Maybe there's. I have that motorcycle right there. Go back.
Which one? This one?
Turquoise one. Go back.
Yeah.
That's what I have.
Yeah.
But you can run scripts. That's how they move. Is you can define like a script that will run, like say, hey, have this thing go back and forth. So you see like random cars flying around with a script that you can write. Yeah. So you see that kind of stuff.
But that means it can only fly around near in your
parcel.
land.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool. Anything else you want to add?
No, that's basically it. Like I say, it's one of the cooler. I would say it's of my favorite. It's Sandbox and CryptoVoxels are my actual favorites. It's just I'm more concerned on like the utility of CryptoVoxels in the long term, or Voxels in the long term. But I think it's I follow the team on Twitter. I like them. Some like really good people. So I'm rooting for them.
So I looked at CryptoVoxels initially because they were one of the earlier ones before Sandbox, and I was trying to see like what is the difference, right? And what is it like to build in them? That's very important. So I looked at CryptoVoxels and I thought, okay, this is kind of like Minecraft, because that would have been great because Minecraft is very easy to build for, but it's not easy to build for in CryptoVoxels, even though it's like blocks. It's not. And that was such a big bummer because I was like, well, everything that I see is like custom voxel assets. Like, I don't know, like it's just, and also like how much you can build is limited because you have to buy the land and each land is very small. So in terms of building, it felt very much like building in Decentraland. It felt very much like that. And, personally, I was looking for something where the platform could generate a lot of user generated content. And I didn't think those two were it. And so, that's how I decided to focus on the Sandbox. Yeah, I don't really see, many Minecraft players going into CryptoVoxels. Like, definitely not the younger ones.
No, it's definitely more art based for sure, and it kind of plays into like these V2 so the CryptoVoxels, Decentraland, even Sandbox falls into like the V1 Metaverses. But I would say Sandbox team probably had more experience prior in because they had how long would they have been around? Like 8 years before, even like they have heavy.
Longer than that. I think they've been around 10 years.
Yeah, so it's like a actual team delivering. And the V2 people are more instance-based. They kind of have gone off of the Sandbox playbook in terms of let's not make a single persistent world. And that's too difficult technically right now. And So you're seeing these V2 worlds that are learning from CryptoVoxels and Decentraland on those mistakes. And maybe long term,
Yeah.
We'll have these single persistent layers. But right now it's...
Yeah, the biggest problem, right, with the single instance is that you can't have gameplay.
Yeah.
Not until maybe we see, the Bored Apes game with Improbable. But I think that's a couple of years away.
That's a completely different engine, my understanding. Like completely different technical infrastructure on how they're able to do that. So it's something CryptoVoxels could not replicate even if they wanted to. And one thing too is even if the main guy Ben, of CryptoVoxels, he's big anti-gun. So you can't have any he won't have any kind of shooting game or guns in CryptoVoxels. So power to him for that's what how he wants to run it. But it also takes, even if they wanted to introduce gaming, they couldn't introduce paintball or anything like that because it's a gun. So there's no gaming mechanics at all.
Right, the game mechanics are important because that's what gets users to stick around.
Yep.
Obviously, we have Facebook. They don't have that. Well, actually, no, that's not true because they did have Facebook gaming, right, for a long time. So, right, that's how we got Zynga. So, I think people needed to keep that in mind that at some point, Facebook introduced gaming, right? The biggest social network out there, they had gaming. I mean, they still do. And without that, you need something else that will keep users in the experience. Meetups could happen. Having meetups could be one of those things. Having some, I don't know, historical context. I don't know what that would be, possibly. But gaming was the obvious one for how to get people to come and stay in the experience. Ice poker, right, really itself is a game.
Yeah. And back in the social network, so a lot of these metaverses are trying to be social, but when Facebook started, there wasn't the concept of, is this person in a relationship? And that didn't exist. And I think that there was meaningful social dynamics that people cared about when Facebook first started. I think that helped for people to have something sticky there. But that doesn't exist in the current metaverses without the game mechanics. Whether they figure out a different way to have people be sticky in the metaverse in a social way, I think that's going to be very difficult because a lot of the social platforms can handle a lot of the social dynamics that you care about, like Instagram or Twitch, the video streaming. It's just quicker. You can look at it faster. Where a metaverse, it's more time consuming. You have to go to your computer. You have to walk around. You're investing more time in it. Where current social platforms, they strive on quick 8-second clips, minute-long clips or photographs and those things. So if they don't have a game mechanic, it's tough for people to hang around. Kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So that wraps it up, and we'll see you next time. Bye.